All right, I want to talk about legacy today. My grandma was born in 1891. She was 74 years old when I was born. Crazy, huh? And I only had 13 years with her. And in those 13 years, she taught me love. She taught me resilience. She taught me strength more than most people learn in a lifetime. She didn't tell me it, she showed me it. She lived 18 years without her husband, John, and she loved him in a way that very few people love today. She talked about him every day, missed him every single day for 18 years. And she would talk about their love. She'd talk about their memories, their joy. She would say, "Oh, Janae, you got your blue eyes from your grandpa." And that was a big deal to me because I never met him. He had died before I was born. And I loved him dearly because I knew him through her stories, through her love, through her joy. You know, real love doesn't fade, it leaves a legacy. And she taught me that. She passed on his legacy to me. So even though I never had a grandpa that I met, I had a grandpa. What an amazing lesson, right? Her daughter died fairly young, toddler age, I want to say, from the influenza. And now, what they end up finding out is fresh food really helped fight influenza. And so they didn't want any other families to lose a loved one because of not having enough fresh food. So they opened their own little grocery store. They knew nothing about being a grocer, but they knew they had to do something. And as soon as the threat was over, they closed their store because they really didn't want to own a store. They just wanted to save their community. Think about that. Pain can either close you or it can help you grow. They choose to let it help them grow. They choose to step outside of themselves and do something for the whole community so that nobody had to feel that same loss if they could help it. That's crazy. She was sassy. She was strong and full of personality. And I hope I got just a little bit of that because she was one of my favorite people in the world. You know, even though she's been gone for more years than I want to count, because that would tell you how old I really am. It makes me feel old when I realize how many years I've been without her. But I still miss her all the time. So you always would hear stories of her growing up, and she was always in trouble because she had a great spirit to her. I remember hearing about her very first ice cream cone. So there was an amusement park in town, and her mom and aunt took her and her cousin to get ice cream there quite often. Well, you know, before cones were developed, they'd come in a bowl. And so they'd eat their ice cream and then they would take the bowl back. So they get their very first ice cream cone, and her and her cousin ate the cone and were in such big trouble by their moms. And so then they had to take their mom's cones back to turn back in, and found out that they were allowed to eat the cone. But in those moments, I think her mom was kind of a pretty uptight person, and my grandma pushed every single one of her buttons all the time. So another time, and this is probably one of my most favorite stories of my grandma. So the Native Americans lived on reservations during her life, and they would come to town every summer and spend the summer in her town. And she loved them. Oh, they were her favorite people. And they'd come to town and she'd go out begging for food with them. And her mom would just be so embarrassed. But my grandma seen them for the amazing people they were and just wanted to be with them, loved their history, loved who they were. And they loved her. Every year, they would make her moccasins and bring them to her. And the first year she was married, she moved the next town over. And they walked, I want to say, like 10 miles, I don't know how many miles, to her new home to deliver these moccasins that were made with so much love. And she would always share her love of them with me. You know, she didn't see them as the town saw them. She saw them as her heart saw them. That to me was so amazing. Your spirit is your signature, and people remember how you made them feel. And she made them feel seen. She made them feel loved. She made them feel valued when very few people did at the time. That's an amazing gift. So my grandma, when she was 13 years old, again, 13, who knew? She started making her own candy recipes. She was quite the cook. And her candy was like well known. And during the Great Depression, when they were rationing sugar, people would bring their sugar rations to her so that she could make her candy. Isn't that crazy? My memories of her candy are every Christmas we would make her candy. And it was a big undertaking. I got to take an entire week off of school to make her candy. And this was one of my most favorite things. It was long days, hard work. And we would do trays upon trays of candy. When we'd get done, we'd have over 80 plates full of candy. My grandma would outdo all of us. We would get there early in the morning. We'd leave 8 or 9 at night and exhausted. And we'd come the next day and there'd be 2 extra trays of whatever kind of candy we were doing made. I remember hand dipping the chocolates. I remember so much of it. And it was fun and it was tiring. And no matter how tired we were, Grandma outworked us. People would wait for their plates of candy. And it was such a big deal. I remember one of my teachers, she had my sister in kindergarten. She had me. She had my little sister. She had my sister's daughter. And she would always go, "Oh, I'm so excited when I see I have one of you because that means Christmas, I get a plate of candy." She had such an amazing legacy. So I remember a letter came and it said Grandma, Farmington, Utah. And it was delivered to her. Everybody called her Grandma. My sister got in a fight in elementary school because her and a kid were arguing over whose grandma she really was. And he's like, "She's everybody's grandma." And my sister's like, "No, but she's my real grandma." And he goes, "Yeah, she's everybody's." Think about that. She didn't belong to just our family. She belonged to an entire community. That's impressive. So even though I only had 13 years, she taught me love, resilience, strength, service. And I came from a long line of strong women who made other people feel seen and loved. That is the kind of legacy I want to leave. We don't get to choose how long we have with someone, but we get to choose what we learn from them. And more importantly, what we carry forward. Think about that. What kind of legacy are you creating in the way that you love, live, and show up for others? I really hope I pass on my grandma's and my mom's legacy. There could be no bigger honor in life than that. Thank you for spending this time with me and for listening with an open heart, for choosing to invest in your growth today. If this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with someone else who just may need the reminder that their dreams still matter. Sometimes one conversation, one message, one moment of encouragement can change everything. And if you want to go deeper, my book, Rise, Believe, Become, was written with you in mind. There is more out there for you. Your potential is so much bigger than you'll know. This is your time to find the courage to take the next step in your journey. You can find my book on Amazon. This is just Janae reminding you that no matter what phase you are in, your dreams don't expire. Until next time, keep rising.